Ursus U47, Irish, Apache. Every story has a beginning. Sometimes, that beginning is nothing more than a fragile thread of hope, stretching across untamed lands, unseen, yet already watched. The caravan pressed on, unaware that fate had already been etched into the arrows whispering through the wind. The Apache strike showed no mercy, and though the settlers fought back, their resistance was not enough. Only the raw instinct of a child, Ursus U47, drove him to vanish into the cold darkness of the woods. In tragedy, he found another orphan of the chaos, a bear cub, whose mother had also fallen that day. Together, they learned the laws of the wild: to hunt, to hide, to endure. Bound by loss, they forged an eternal bond. The years had not been wasted. The boy and the bear had become a single instrument of survival, a bond hammered in the iron of necessity. Yet the wild always carries its lessons in humility. The strength of one is often the weakness of two. In an instant, the hunter became the hunted, trapped in a storm of tusks and rage, with no way out. Out of nowhere, like a deus ex machina, torn from the very legends of the Apache, came their salvation. A warrior of unusual form, skin like moonlight, eyes like the open sky. He called himself El Condor, a spirit soaring between two worlds, and on that day, he chose to shape the fate of two lost souls. El Condor arrows flew true, and the beasts fell one by one beneath his storm of shafts. Guided by El Condor, the two orphans finally found a path, not one of mere survival, but of belonging. That night, Ursus broke his silence. Words, locked away for years, poured like a river of anguish: the caravan, the fire, and the arrow that left him alone. The chief listened not with pity, but with the recognition of a wound too familiar, a scar shared by every soul in that camp. And then, the old chief gave back his story. Not to compete in pain, but to complete a tale the white world had twisted for its own ends.
They came in their wooden ships, boy. Not with respect, but with the arrogance of men who claimed creation as their own. They call us savages for defending our land, but what name do they deserve? Those who killed for a shining metal? Tell me, who is the true savage here? Your war is over now, son. Here, you are no orphan. You are Ursus. And your bear brother is welcome too.
And within Ursus, a truth began to break open. He was not only a victim, he was a survivor of a war he had never chosen. Geronimo, an Apache chief of the 19th century, an untamed warrior who stood against injustice. Who was Geronimo? A man, or an indomitable spirit that defied empires? Born in the 19th century, his name thundered across the desert mountains, an Apache chief just and fierce who rose against injustice. For the first time, the orphaned boy was no longer just a witness. He was part of a right greater than his own sorrow. That night, the fire warmed more than bodies. It kindled destinies that burned to intertwine. Even the bear brother to his tragedy was welcomed as a guardian spirit. a sign the elders could not ignore. Geronimo placed in his hand a symbol, not of power, but of responsibility, a weight that would soon test his very soul. But while the tribe celebrated, on the horizon, a storm was already rising, a storm that would test his newfound destiny. Guided by instinct, Ursus discovered a new kind of victim, not of arrows, but of hunger and of ignorance. Moved by a compassion untouched by betrayal, Ursus offered his first act of nobility. The hunt that had kept him alive would now keep others alive. For the first time in days, the family saw hope reflected in their meal. Ursus brought live hens, whose eggs would become tomorrow's bread. It was more than charity. It was a lesson. The tribe, echoing the wisdom of their chief, taught them not to beg for fish, but to cast the net. They showed the fertile earth they had ignored. Hunted by men who sought to enslave him, Ursus fled the village with every ounce of cunning and speed, fighting only to survive. The settlers did not want to labor. They wanted slaves to labor for them, believing themselves masters above all. But the lesson was lost to greed. The strength they refused to use for harvest, they turned instead to chains. Ursus's compassion became the snare that bound his brothers. That night, the pupils surpassed the teachers in the only lesson the settlers understood, the lesson of power and of conquest. The cycle of violence began anew, but this time with a warrior fully forged.
I too am white. I too was brought across the sea as a child, and yet I do not claim to be a god, a master, or the owner of an Apache brother, or of any soul born to a different color.
The settlers fled, for if one man's fury was enough to break them, what would it be if the whole tribe rose against them? But they made a fatal mistake. They took their captives with them as they ran. Every hero has an origin. The Condor's story began on a ship, like so many others, leaving everything behind, chasing a dream that far too often turned into a nightmare. The family's fortune improved, but affection was never shared equally. The father's pride was always reserved for the elder son.
Can't you see how unfair you are? To the eldest you give everything, and to the youngest, barely a glance.
As the years passed, the conflict grew, until one day, the younger son chose a different path, one that would not be found beneath that roof. He shouldered a simple bag and left in search of his own freedom. Early maturity arrived in the silence of the woods. There he found a companion as broken and lonely as himself. He healed the bird, cared for it, and in time the hawk became his guide. It was the hawk, soaring high above, that led him to Geronimo's camp. One spirit had found another. Years later, curiosity drew him back. He saw his brother successful but empty, and his father aged, carrying regret. The reunion was bitter, though necessary. Forgiveness was offered, but too late to turn back time. One question burned in him. Where was his mother? His father finally confessed. She had searched endlessly for him, until she was lost in the vast wilderness. From that day, the Condor carried a new mission, to find the woman who had never stopped believing in him. But this time, the Condor would not fly alone. With Ursus U47 at his side, he would seek to free the enslaved Apaches and search for the mother lost in the endless frontier. They traveled for days, following the hawk across deserts and mountains, until the Grand Canyon revealed itself, like a sleeping giant guarding secrets of life and death. There they discovered the truth. The captives had been sold to a traveling circus, condemned to mockery and pain beneath the laughter of their oppressors. From the shadows, Ursus and the Condor prepared their rescue.
Guard change in 4 minutes.
Plan A, walk in. Plan B, break them out. Plan C, escape with the Apache brothers.
Who are you?
We're inspectors of noise, both outside and within.
Also, experts in the noise of animals and chains.
That's absurd. Is someone unhappy with our performance? We are the world's sensation. Do you know how many continents we've traveled to get here?
Of course we know. That's exactly why we're here.
More noise, more excitement enough to make those outside wonder what's happening inside.
And with the clatter of chains and the roar of beasts, curiosity will be the finest publicity.
With shouts, applause, and chaos, the chains thundered like war drums. In the uproar, the Apache captives escaped into the night. Only one mission remained: to find the mother of the heart that never stopped believing in the Condor. And still he rises, carrying hope for all who follow his flight. The tribe gathered that night to honor, for there were those who had suffered in chains and those who had freed them. The eagle amulet, a symbol of courage and service, was given only to those who chose the good of many before their own destiny.
You could have flown far away to find your mother, but you chose to save your brothers first. That sacrifice is what holds our tribe together.
Thus, the young warrior received more than an object. He received the weight and the light of an entire memory.
True strength is not in vengeance. If we fight with hate, we become like those who chained us.
At dawn, it wasn't just the tribe that gathered. The townspeople and settlers approached with fear, but also with hope.
These men chose to stay. They took no slaves. They raised no whips. They stayed because they believe, like us, that the land has no owner, only guardians.
That day, the tribe understood that victory was not to destroy the enemy, but to sow a future where all could drink from the same river and dream under the same sky.
Mother Nature does not belong to one. She belongs to all who know how to care for her. Let her be what unites us, not spilled blood.
While the adults sealed the peace, the children lived it without words, sharing laughter and games.
take care of it. This feather is not mine, it is the sky's, and the sky belongs to everyone.
The brothers Ursus U47, the spirit of the bear and the condor, the hawk's guide, had begun a brotherhood for life. For a moment, peace seemed a dream realized. The wind blows with shadows from the north. What is union today, tomorrow will be temptation and rupture. But one of the settlers had already chosen another path. While the others shared bread, he went in search of chains. Dawn brought not birdsong, but the tread of iron and gunpowder. Neither courage nor blood were enough against betrayal. That same night, the brothers of life were imprisoned, like beasts in a cage. They were to be hanged at dawn, without trial, without a voice, without mercy.
What happened to the noise control? And the chains that squeak? The dogs that bark? So clever at freeing slaves. And so foolish as to fall asleep without a guard.
The noise you'll hear tomorrow won't be of chains. It will be of the wind of freedom.
And that, no one can chain. Freedom? Huh, the only thing you did was steal what wasn't yours. Steal? The only thing we did was free our Apache brothers. You kidnapped them, sold them like animals to a circus.
You took advantage of our nobility, of our goodwill.
Well now, for all I know, those savages have no laws. They are like animals. We civilized folk, however, do. According to our laws, those slaves were the property of the settlers. They were sold with a legal contract to the circus. You, by freeing them, are not heroes. You are thieves. And that is your justice? If you steal, you call it a contract. But if we rescue those you chain up, you call it a crime. That is the true injustice.
That night, the chains did not just bind their hands. They showed the weight of a world divided between the law of man and the justice of the spirit. At dawn, there would be no trial, just the rope and the silence. That place smelled of smoke, lost bets, and secrets, and that night, it would welcome three who feared losing nothing. Vans, hardened gambler, sharp tongue, luck as changeable as the wind.
If there are no cards, there's no destiny. And if there's no destiny, I invent one.
Araujo, an ex-soldier, a cunning rider and strategist, but a rebel.
Araujo, just remember cards aren't for drinking, though you always end up betting the bottle.
Golpe puro, strength personified, stubborn as a mule, and twice as dangerous.
Where I put my eye, I put the bullet. And if I miss, my revolver's golpe puro will finish the job.
Cowie girls, smile of honey, tongue of a dagger. The owner of the bar and of everyone's secrets.
Sit down, but mind what you say. These walls have better memory than you.
Moist, Sita, the voice of reason in a world that lost its reason long ago.
You talk about plans, I talk about survival, and that costs more than whiskey.
5 strangers, 5 ways to lose everything, and 2 reasons to unite. Ursus and the Condor.
A rescue isn't much different from a bet. You either win everything or lose your shirt.
Well, I brought several shirts, pure precaution. What does it matter?
Enough talk. I say we go in, break the chains, and fight our way out.
Gulp, dear. We can't solve everything at gunpoint. Let's use our heads.
Ursus and the Condor are to be executed at dawn if we keep planning. They'll already be hanged with their tongues hanging out.
And at that table, amid smoke, laughter, and candlelight, a pact was born.
To Ursus and to the Condor.
To Ursus and to the Condor.
With the first light of day, they rode toward the impossible.
You know the best part about this plan?
That nobody bet a penny it would work, but it doesn't matter. The important thing is that it works.
The plan worked. It fit like a glove, but not for Ursus and the Condor.
Now 5 would pay. The gambler's plan had failed.
My plan was brilliant. It went perfectly. Fits like a slave's collar.
That dawn brought not freedom, but condemnation. The town slept, but the wood of the gallows seemed to whisper with the creak of dawn. Inside the sheriff's office, Ursus, the Condor, and the gamblers awaited dawn, condemned to the noose. But when all seemed lost, the bear of Ursus burst in, shattering the posts that held the rope of their death. And yet, the beast paid dearly for its fury. The general's soldiers captured him. The night smelled of moonshine, of old gunpowder, and of plans hatched after one too many drinks.
The plan was sound, but the execution failed.
How could it not fail? Hungover, sleep-deprived, and drunker than soldiers on payday. 1 hour of rest isn't enough for a donkey, let alone for a hero.
The bear of Ursus had torn the gallows to splinters, but the town knew another would be raised at dawn.
We have a respite, yes, but a short one. I know people who can help us, and they carry papers, not rifles.
On the other shore of justice, a peculiar marriage was preparing to enter the game. Todo VMW and his inseparable wife, La Karma del Guagua. Their guardian was their dog named Zeus, who seemed to understand the law of man and of nature itself.
Your Honor, we are not here to embellish speeches. I come with my wife, my assistants, and with the voice of the people. We will not allow injustice to reign in this land.
Because if the general boasts of being civilized, then let him. Be bound by the very laws he proclaims. So says justice.
Gundy, the bold investigator, a master at finding evidence, presented their find. A map revealing an uncomfortable truth.
These men did not cross borders illegally. It was the colonists and the general soldiers who broke the law.
By invading Mexico, once New Spain, and here slavery is forbidden. The criminals are them, not those who freed the captives.
The bells called the people, not to mass, but to the trial where the noose already had its verdict. The general needed no evidence. For him, the gallows was the only counsel.
These men are not heroes, they are criminals. They stole legal property and disguise it as justice. The law is on my side.
Some law you have, one that protects chains and condemns freedom. They don't make them that crooked in saloons.
If justice were yours, General, the sun would not rise for all. And yet, here it is, illuminating even your lies.
The Condor's sarcasm ignited laughter, and Ursus's serenity, respect. Two styles, one single cry against the rope.
Order! Order in the court! This is a court of law, and I will not permit disorder. We judge based on evidence here.
And then the map of the territory was shown, and it became clear which country the colonists and the general himself with his army had invaded when they captured the Condor and Ursus.
This map makes it clear. The captured Apaches were not on the general's lands, but in another country. The colonists knew it and took advantage of their confusion. The colonel, blinded by his words, ended up invading a neighboring nation.
Gundy's words were not just an accusation, they were gunpowder. If accepted as truth, that trial could ignite a war, and the general knew it. While Gundy laid bare the general's lie with maps and seals, the lawyers, Toto VMW and his wife, Karma del Guagua, prepared the defense of the three reckless gamblers.
I need the full truth. What happened that night? Speak plainly, right here, to me.
I just raised my voice in the saloon, counselor. One drink too many, and I ended up promising impossible rescues.
There was no real plan. No weapons, no movement, just cards, drinks, and a drunken oath.
I pounded the table, nothing more. But that was enough for the guards to say we were conspiring.
So there was no attempted escape, just public disorder. That is our line. The rest is the general's theater.
The evidence is clear and compelling, as the lawyers and their collaborators have argued. Ursus and the Condor were not thieves, but prisoners taken outside our jurisdiction. The general had no right over them whatsoever. As for you three, young and immature outsiders, Vance, Araujo and Golpe Puro, your drunkenness led you to disorder. But that is not treason nor a capital crime. It is a minor offense, punishable by a fine, not the gallows.
And if the law only serves to hang the reckless while staying silent before true abuses, then it is not law, but tyranny with impunity.
I declare, by the authority granted to me by the law and the people, that Ursus, the Condor, and the three accused ought to be released immediately. This court will not be the executioner of innocent men.
The trial ended as few expected, with broken chains, not tightened ones. Justice, for at least one day, had defeated the noose. The wind roared like an ancient song, and within the fissures of the Grand Canyon, an impossible glow appeared, a portal woven from light and memories.
Condor, son of two worlds, here lies the path to your lost mother. Take one step, and you will feel her embrace once more.
Everything in me screams to enter. I have dreamt of her every single night. But my brother is here, my skin and another blood. How can I abandon him now?
The choice is yours. The portal will remain open, but only you may enter. If you choose Brotherhood, the wait will be long. But your bond with Ursus will shine like fire in the storm.
There was no journey, but there was that profound connection. The certainty that Brotherhood is also a home. The humiliation he suffered in the square festered in the general, like a red-hot iron. Rage was not enough. He sought a new law to reshape the world in his favor.
Honorable representatives, what we see today is not merely local disorder, it is a fracture in authority. I propose we initiate a war and proclaim what rightfully belongs to civilized people like us.
The general spoke of order, of security, and of the future. But his true plan was visible only on his lips. Greed for the northern gold and the promise of absolute power.
Invade Mexico with what army? Under the pretext of arresting outlaws? It's madness, General.
It is not madness, it is opportunity. If we take the North, its wealth will pay for everything. Soldiers, pensions, loyalties. We need only push the people to believe in the enemy.
The Congress hesitated. It was not ready for open war. But the general had already planted the seed he needed. The lie. If the law would not give him war, the shadows would. He turned to those who ask not of law or honor, mercenaries and men without a country.
I promise you gold, I promise you license, and above all, I promise you a mandate. Leave no one behind to testify. When night falls, set fire to the streets where my prisoners were held. Let their proof and their memory burn. Then we will say our version. They were the invaders.
A betrayal. And in the night, torches would march toward the town. The smoke would be the curtain to cover his lie. The fire was no divine punishment. It was the fist of a man who believed laws could burn like straw. He not only wiped out the town, he also eliminated the mercenaries, so there would be no loose ends.
Let the world learn. Justice is smoke when steel has the final word.
You can burn my streets, but you will not erase my oath.
Neither paper, nor ink, nor the oath could save him. Justice fell beneath the blade, and the gavel's echo was buried by the roar of the flames. The gavel fell, but its echo did not fade. In the silence, others forged their own version of history. The executioner dressed as a hero, and crime became a decree. They rewrote the truth with ink and fear. The mestizo became a demon, an innocent, an enemy. Ursus and the Condor will be blamed for the crime committed by the general. The general promised justice and delivered war. They burned huts, erased names, and called the ashes peace. Texas was the first wound, then the Alamo, and each invasion, one less piece of Mexico. Thus began the plunder, and its people exterminated with biological weapons, smallpox, infected blankets, and bounties for every Apache or mestizo.
Today, we seal the continent's fate. No Indian or mestizo will ever again dictate laws to the white man.
Mexico was forced to cede the territories that today are California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Colorado, Wyoming, and Kansas. The hawk did not forget. From the sky, it guarded the oath that men betrayed. Now dressed in the battalion's colors, Ursus and El Condor learn that the battle begins long before the field, in discipline, strategy, and the trust between brothers in arms. John Riley, veteran of battles and deserter by conviction, taught that a soldier is not just strength, but mind, heart, and honor. Who was John Riley? A traitor to his flag or a hero who chose honor before blind obedience? Born in Ireland, he crossed the sea in search of a free land, and found it under the fire of another nation. He deserted the American army in 1846, guided not by fear but by justice, by humanity. He formed the Street Patrick's Battalion, men from different lands, united by one cause, to defend Mexico from foreign invasion. His sword was raised not for vengeance, but for redemption. for the forgotten peoples and the voices without a flag. The battalion, composed mainly of Irish and German immigrants, joined the Mexican army and distinguished itself as an elite artillery unit. Thus was born the Brotherhood between the Irishmen and the Apaches, between the old soldier and the sons of the wind, united by justice. Hell opened upon the living, and amid the flames, a shadow rose with wings of war. It was him, El Condor, the last one who still believed freedom could have a human face. He advanced where no one else dared, carrying in his chest more hope than fear. He could have gone on, but he chose to stay. In that gesture, the hero became a legend. Neither lead, nor fear, nor the gods could stop him. For in his voice resided the strength of all who were no longer there. The general fell, while El Condor triumphed. Half of Mexico had already been stolen. The wind stopped. Even the enemy lowered their weapons, for they had seen a myth born. The brave San Patricios, Irish and Germans, swept through Monterrey and triumphed in the Battle of Churubusco. And there, amid ash and blood, Ursus and El Condor found each other again, brothers of the soul. The sun rose over the ruins, and with it, the silence that remains when brothers take different paths. A war of lies forged the dispossession. An illegitimate treaty stole half of its territory. That document is the true illegal, a wound that history does not close. Their red stripes are not fabric. They are the blood of exterminated peoples. They founded their freedom upon our extermination. They unite not to bring justice, but to impose terror. Their America is a disguise, ours, a territory in mourning. Time spares, not even the valiant, but true heroes do not age. They only change skin.
This is not a goodbye, dear brother. It's only a see you later. Our destiny is already written, and God knows when we will meet again. I love you. You will always be in my heart, my brother.
From the womb of the universe, the mother crosses the veil to guide her son home.
I love you, son. It is time to be together. Again, my beloved son.
You were 14 years old when the sky called you early. Not with wings, but with a hunger to fly. You said, I'm going, brother, and I will return for you. And I believed in your eyes more than in destiny. And you left for the north with a promise between your teeth. I was happy for you, with the faith that you would fly so very high, my dear Condor. Years passed, 5 suns, 5 winters, and one day you returned, smiling like before. You wanted to surprise me, but I surprised you. We met again 2 summers later, and for a while the world was just. We shared unforgettable moments. 15 years more. I had the fortune to offer you my home. Our families merged with love and respect. You were the boy who grew up, believing everything was possible. And even though the body is gone, your word remains here, pulsing in my hands. Fly high, Jose, there where the sun doesn't burn and the mother waits. For the brother you left on earth still watches you in every dawn, waiting for the day you call him home to. A true brother is not buried, he is followed